The Trump administration is preparing to roll out several major cybersecurity policy updates in the coming weeks and months. At the top of the list is a new national cybersecurity strategy, but there are several other cyber developments worth watching. For more on that, Federal News Network's Justin Doubleday joins me now. Justin, thanks for being here.
Hey, Terry, thanks for having me.
Let's start with the big one. What is the latest on the national cyber strategy? When will it come out? What will be in it?
Well, it's going to come out sooner rather than later, in the words of White House National Cyber Director Sean Cairncross. And that might be an unsatisfying response for folks who have been watching this closely, but it still sounds like it's coming out soon. Some folks had expected it would come out in January, so now we're on February watch for that. But at ITI's Tech Policy Summit last week, Cairncross did lift the veil a little bit more on what would be in this national cyber strategy. As he said before, it will be a short document, and he explained that it will have 6 main pillars. There's shaping adversary behavior at the top. This is what the Trump administration has really leaned into in terms of essentially leaning more on the offensive side of cyber to dissuade cyber attacks against U.S. critical infrastructure and U.S. interests. Other pillars include the regulatory environment and working with industry, Cairncross said, to streamline regulations rather than introducing more compliance checklists, in his words. And then the 4 remaining pillars are probably not super surprising for folks. There's securing and modernizing the federal government, securing critical infrastructure, maintaining dominance in emerging technologies like artificial intelligence, and then addressing the cyber skills and workforce gap. And while the strategy isn't out yet, Cairncross said the White House isn't waiting around to get started on implementation.
In each of those different pillars, we have various lines of effort, many of which are underway right now. I only have so much time in this job, and any administration is time limited. And so what we are concerned with and what President Trump is always concerned with is action and results. And so we are looking to put points on the board to make things work efficiently, effectively, and with maximum impact in all these different priority areas.
One of the words you used a lot as you were describing the 6 pillars is security. What's the Trump administration's approach to ensuring AI is secure? Where do those efforts stand?
Yeah, this is a big focus area, and the Trump administration last year released an AI action plan, and it had a whole host of different activities, mostly aimed at ensuring the U.S. country kind of wins the quote-unquote AI race, and it focuses on infrastructure and policies and things like that. But there was a security aspect to it, and one of the things it directed was the Department of Homeland Security to establish an AI Information Sharing and Analysis Center, or an AI ISAC, as they are called. And these ISACs have been set up for a range of different sectors, ranging from the IT sector to the water sector to the automotive sector, where companies can join on a voluntary basis and get information about cyber threats that are affecting their sector. And so the Trump administration wants DHS and the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency to set one up for the AI sector specifically. Nick Anderson is CISA's Executive Assistant Director for Cybersecurity. And at the ITI Policy Summit, he talked a little bit about how CISA is thinking through setting up the AI ISAC.
What we don't want to have happen is have government establish one group engaged in information sharing, have industry establish a separate parallel group that's involved in information sharing. We just want to make sure we've got the right elements of how do we pull together people and how do we take advantage of the leadership position that we can have early on. As we continue to see tremendous investments in America's success and opportunities within the AI race in general, we want to make sure that security conversation, that security community of interest we can build is going to be built in the right way.
So those ISACs focus on industry activities. Are there things that federal agencies should be doing to address AI security?
Yeah, this is a big question for any agency, CIO or CISO. Cairncross actually said the Office of the National Cyber Director is cooking something up in that arena. He said that they're working on an AI security policy framework that will, of course, help agencies figure out how to set policies in this really fast-moving space.
We are working to ensure that security is not viewed as a friction point for innovation, but it is built into that system so that on a foundational level, it exists as this gets up and running and scales and is increasingly infused into daily life. You can look back on the start of the way the internet came into being, and it's optimized for commerce and communication and for ease of function, but security wasn't built into that ground level. We've been sort of reverse engineering ever since that point. And so we are seeking to avoid that on the AI side.
So these conversations are focused on strategy and policy. Are there any new cybersecurity rules or regulations at the tactical level that we should be paying attention to?
Yeah, there's a big one coming down the pipeline and potentially pretty soon. CISA is responsible for finalizing the rulemaking for the Cyber Incident Reporting for Critical Infrastructure Act of 2022, CIRCIA as it's known by its acronym. And this rule will require critical infrastructure organizations across the 16 designated sectors to report cyber incidents to CISA within 72 hours. And so this is by far the most wide-ranging cybersecurity law ever passed, and CISA is responsible for, of course, writing the rules. Congress required CISA to finalize those rules in the fall of 2024. But the Trump administration came in and saw the Biden administration's proposed rule for CIRCIA and said, we would like some more time to potentially sort out some of the issues that industry has raised with that proposed rule. Industry has said it's a little too far-reaching, a little too duplicative of other cyber incident reporting rules. And so the Trump administration has said that they will have a finalization of that rule in May of 2026. Now, there's a lot of questions about how that rolls out. Anderson from CISA said that in the next few weeks, expect CISA to have an update on CIRCIA. He wouldn't say any more and get ahead of it, but he would say within the next few weeks, there's going to be something on CIRCIA. So that's a big one to watch.
Justin, 2025 was such a turbulent year for CISA organizationally. Are they settled down and stable? This is a huge scope of responsibility, all these new policies and rules. What are you hearing as far as what might come next for them?
There is still a fair bit of turbulence. There's been a lot of negative stories about their acting director, Madhu Gaudamakala, in recent weeks. They are still waiting for a permanent director to be passed through the Senate, and they have one in Sean Planky, who's been nominated, but his nomination has been languishing since March of last year. Senators have placed various holds on his nomination due to unrelated issues with what's going on at DHS more broadly. And so the upshot for CISA is that they are moving forward on some of these really important initiatives, but they are still somewhat in kind of a flux mode where they're waiting for a permanent leader. They've lost a lot of staff, and there's questions about how they then potentially build back in some capacity to replace a lot of the talent they've lost. And so it's interesting to hear that they're moving forward on some of these big initiatives, but I still think there's a lot of questions about the overall direction of CISA going forward.
That's Federal News Network's Justin Doubleday. Justin, thanks for keeping us focused on the important issues in cyber.
Thank you, Terry.
You can find his story at federalnewsnetwork.com.